Welcome to the Zelda Informer podcast. I am your host, Alfred Tabex, joined again and always by my great Canadian friend, Andy Spiteri.
Hello, everybody.
So, we don't really have any Zelda news to talk about, but that doesn't mean we don't have anything to talk about. First off, just want to preface what we're going to talk about, the first thing, with I have been playing Persona 5 like crazy. I don't remember when I started, but I have 70 hours sunk into that game, and I'm absolutely in love with it. And the soundtrack is freaking amazing to that game. So if you've got a PlayStation 4, pick it up. If you're not into JRPGs, that's fine, but I just think it's amazing. Like, I bought off of Amazon the 3-disc soundtrack for this game just because it was so great.
What kind of a soundtrack does it have? A poppy Japanese soundtrack, or we're talking Final Fantasy?
Jazzy.
Okay.
To fit in with the theme of the game, I guess, is the theme is thieves, smooth thieves, basically. And so it's got a really jazzy soundtrack, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I have not stopped listening to it, and my wife is completely tired of it. But I'm enjoying it. Anyways, it got me thinking about how important music is in video games, and how it affects our memories of the game, how it affects, I guess, our overall idea of what the game is. So, especially in the realm of Zelda, I know this was a big area of contention when Breath of the Wild was announced that it wasn't going to have these fantastical soundtracks that we've heard in past games. A lot of people were upset with that because music is a crucial part of Zelda. I mean, there's a reason why we have the Symphony of the Goddess going around everywhere. It's because of how great the music is. And that's not to say Breath of the Wild didn't have music and didn't have a great soundtrack. But when we think of these games, when we think of games in general, or more stylized games, I'll put it that way. You typically don't think, oh man, Call of Duty had such a great soundtrack, bet it's going to get best soundtrack at the VGAs this year. It's the more...
Call of Duty would have great sound design, the bullets and the ships and stuff, but a great soundtrack. Yeah. I mean, look at Lord of the Rings, the soundtrack for those movies. All three movies said, I could hum every soundtrack right now and tell you the exact scene that soundtrack was playing in. So
exactly, it's stuff like that, things that
I'm a big music person, so that, and some people have told me that I associate a lot of my memory with music.
Yeah.
So if I hear a song playing, I'll just be like, oh, this reminds me of this time or this person or whatever. So I'm very music oriented like that. So I can think of several examples in video games and some in Zelda where there's just been that one awesome piece of music playing, and it just enhances the moment, enhances the scene, makes everything awesome. If I had to say, I think the one that would immediately come to mind for me would be Fi's Farewell from Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
And Fi's Gratitude. I mean, that little piano ballad playing, and then the moment that was happening, and a lot of people kind of jump on her and saying that she was kind of annoying, but man, that scene was just so good that it just pretty much erased all of her faults for me. So that's the power of music.
I mean, I think for me, the one that I always go back to with Zelda is the final boss fight in Wind Waker with Ganon, how climactic that was thanks to the music. It was already, the stage was already set for this amazing fight, but just the music in general was just overpowering and symphonic, and it just really set the stage and set the mood for it.
I have goosebumps. I don't know if anyone can see that, but that it was so good, and I loved Wind Waker's final battle, and that theme was incredible. But almost as incredible, it was the Twilight Princess final theme. And what I thought was the most incredible thing about both of them is you're both fighting the same person, but just the changing of the theme in that is so reflective of the game. The Twilight Princess theme was a little bit more primal, there was a little bit more drums. It just felt and that's the power of music. It's both of those are just amazing tracks that I listen to when I go to the gym because they pump me up.
And I'd just like to take this moment to tell people, if you're really into Zelda music and you're really into the Symphony of the Goddess, a while back I did an interview with Jerron Moore, the guy that's kind of in charge of the Pokemon Symphony and the Zelda Symphony. I'll probably link to it in the description. but did a pretty long interview with him about music and in Zelda. He mentioned the final battle with Ganondorf in Twilight Princess and how the music really made that for him. And if anybody can talk about music, it'd be him. So just kind of that idea and that topic that I just want to bring up and kind of get more in depth on is, how not necessarily just in Zelda, but how music can really set the stage in a video game, in the same way it can in a movie, and sometimes even more so. Like, for example, when you go into going far back to like the dawn of video games, talking about Super Mario Bros. The theme for Super Mario Bros. is iconic. That's not really what I'm getting at here. Is whenever the time would hit 100 seconds, you had 100 seconds left. It would speed up. Yeah, and so it had a greater sense of urgency because of that. And so the music, you weren't moving faster, but the music made it seem like you were moving faster. You were more hurried. And so I just think about like even something as simple as that, how music completely changed the way you perceived the game, and perceived how you're moving in the game just based on like one, tempo change.
Well, even like little chimes, like Zelda. My ringtone is the Zelda "You Found a Secret" chime.
Mm-hmm.
So how you can just associate success with that musical cue that. Mm-hmm. I think is really cool. That is really a video game thing because you didn't have that in movies or anything beforehand. So
yeah.
That's something that I think that I really like about it. Like when Breath of the Wild first came out, I kind of I was critical of its soundtrack, and I think I still am critical of its soundtrack really, and I understand the whole stylistic choice of it, but yeah, just like. To me, music is a big part of that game, and so that's why sometimes like open world games just don't connect with me as much because they typically tend to have more subdued soundtracks.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, that's a lot of my memories kind of linked to the soundtracks. Like I could probably hum you like the Xenoblade Chronicles X, themes for their worlds right now.
Oh my gosh.
As annoying as they could be. So
yeah, that hub world soundtrack is
okay, no, I couldn't come you the subworld. Maybe Oblivia, but like the subworld was pretty bad.
The main hub world, that music for
that like kind of and it was all so loud like all the time. I don't even know how to describe that, but yeah.
See that I agree that it's really hard. Like I think the only reason I remember the Breath of the Wild tracks is because it's Zelda. If it wasn't Zelda, I probably wouldn't remember them and probably wouldn't be able to recall them as clearly as I can. And I'm talking about more the overworld theme and stuff like that. But even the the town themes, like I remember Zora's Domain and the Rito Village and stuff like that. Like I can recall that better than I can, and people are going to hate me for this because apparently this is a really popular song or track from Skyrim, but the Streets of Whiterun. Like I could not tell you that at all, and I've sunk probably about 60, 70 hours into that game. I couldn't tell you.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you a single track from Skyrim. There's a lot of good things about Skyrim, but
the only thing I remember,
the music itself was fine, but it was just like it was kind of the definition of like subtle enhancement music rather than like a powerful score.
Except for like the Dovahkiin sound like theme. That's the only one that I remember. But like the rest of it, it was good for the game. Like it fit well into the game. I just don't remember it. It's not like cognizant in my mind. Like I can't recall it the same way I can, other games or, Persona 5 or Zelda. And again, like I said, I think the only reason I remember Breath of the Wild's soundtrack is because it's Breath of the Wild. And because when I took in that game, I took in every single detail of that game. And for whatever reason, like I absorbed the game fully. And I don't.
Well, I mean, how about this? Do you remember the first time that you ever set foot into Fendrena Drifts? I do.
In Metroid
Prime?
Yeah.
I do. That was amazing.
You want to talk about a game with a fantastic
snow falling,
soundtrack.
the little piano there, like, it was so good, and the music made it.
Mm-hmm. Well, that game, that game,
that
or
game,
those,
top to bottom, was just, and really, like, the whole Metroid series,
well, those games
is
thrive off
usually
of the music.
good to great.
Like,
Yeah.
the music, it adds to the atmosphere of the game in such an amazing way, especially like you were talking about Financial Drifts. Like, it's quiet but eerie still.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a theme for most of the games. Like, the one I always think about is the Cloud City in Metroid Prime 3. Elysia, I think.
Yeah.
And how, like, creepy that place is, despite, like, we talked about this, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago, is how unnerving it is, but how beautiful it is at the same time. Like, it's this bright-ish area, and you have no reason to be as, like, on edge or tense as you are, but, like, the music and the atmosphere, it all lends itself to that. And I think that's, a powerful testament to the music, because, while quiet, like, silence does wonders, but so does sound, and you get a lot of that, especially in Nintendo games, with the music, and even probably one of my favorite soundtracks to any game is Shadow of the Colossus. Like, if you've never heard the soundtrack to the game, you really need to go check it out. It's freaking amazing. It's a masterpiece.
They have that remastered on PS4, right?
Yeah, it's coming out soon. They're remastering it, and gosh, it's going to be fantastic.
I kind of just wish they'd make a new one, to be honest. But
yeah, but like they
remaster, I'll take that over nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be. I don't think they're rebuilding it from the ground up, but it looks really good. They showed off the E3 trailer, but the music for that game really, really fits. Like, as you get closer to beating a Colossus, or as you fight certain Colossus or Colossi or whatever, the music changes, or the music gets more powerful. I think, there's a specific track that I absolutely love off of it. That is probably one of my favorite video game tracks of all time. And the composer for that game was just did an amazing job. I think it's the Opened Path. This is the Colossus theme. And then the Resurrected Power, the two tracks off of that game that I just absolutely adore. They're just, the way that they lend themselves to the fights and the intensity of what's going on is it's really something I can't describe. You have to play it for yourself and see. But
so I have on my iPod 3 different playlists. I have video game music battle, which is like, boss battle music and other fight music and stuff. It's like kind of gets you pumped. I have video game music night, which I listen to usually when I go to sleep, and it's kind of like the softer melodies or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then video game, I just called it Explore, I want to say, and that's for kind of everything else. So I almost have more video game music on my iPod than like songs on my iPod. So,
well, like even people don't like the Sonic games that much, like Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2. Even though Sonic Adventure 2 is in my top 10 games of all time. Just because
really,
I couldn't tell you why. I played the mess out of that game when I was young. I absolutely love that game. I
think Sonic is right up there with Kirby.
I can't tell you why I love Sonic Adventure 2 so much, but I just absolutely love that game. It is in my top 10 games. Not because it's like fantastic, but just because I love the game. But I could, like, kind of like you were talking about with Lord of the Rings, I know every single musical cue and track off of that game. And, like, I know all the lines of dialogue to that game, but I know, like, every single musical cue. And a joke that's always made around Sonic is, like, the best thing about the games is Crush 40. Just because their music is, like, so fitting of the game. And it is. They're great. I love what the guitarist for that band does, because he's amazing. But, like, that's the things I remember are heightened by music. You notice, like, if you think about certain memories in the games that you've played, you hear the music as you think about the memories. Like, not necessarily hear it, but like you can hear it play with whatever memory you're referencing with the game, which, it's crazy to me that it's that vivid. Like,
one of my favorite tracks is called "You're Not Alone," and it's from Final Fantasy IX, and I can recall the scene almost like line for line. It's when your main character Zidane finds out what he was created for. Essentially, he was created to destroy everything, and he just flips out, and all of his friends come and basically give him this big pep talk, and it's so good, and it's probably the music probably only plays for like maybe 2 minutes or so, but it's such a good scene, and that track is just amazing. It's so good.
Well, you always talk about like a moment like that at the end of at the end of Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, when you're about to like die because of the fight, and then like the music kind of picks up and it is very melodic, and then everybody's like cheering you on and stuff. Yeah. Like it shouldn't be as like much of a pump up moment as it is, but because it's it's Paper Mario. But like that's one of the things I think about. I'm like, man, that was heightened by music, and it has no right to be, but it was.
You know what I played not too long ago was Donkey Kong Country 2 on my Game Boy SP, which I dug out of my drawer somewhere and saw that it still worked. So I played Donkey Kong Country 2. That series, Donkey Kong Country, just in general, has such good music and such like underrated, because when I think of like awesome music in a series, like I don't really think of Donkey Kong Country. Man, I was like bopping along to Disco Train. They got Mining Melancholy. It's so good. Like if you ever need like if you're reading or something, you don't want, if you're like me and like lyrics bother you while you're trying to read or while you're trying to study or something, go Google or YouTube like Donkey Kong Country playlist. You'll be surprised how good that music is in that series. I guarantee you.
Yeah,
it's my pro tip for the day.
It's pretty awesome. And that's that was one of the first games that I played that I really remembered most of the music from was Donkey Kong Country. I was awful at it when I was younger, but that's what I remember. So yeah, we're pretty much in agreement though that music is a pretty important part of video games, and it lends itself to it.
If you have bad music, it's distracting, it's grating, it's demoralizing. Well, and like why would you listen to a bad CD? You know? So why would you play a game with bad music all the time?
Mm-hmm. You'd eventually end up muting it or something. Yeah. So moving on, one of the things that came out this past week, or last week actually, Friday, along with the release of Splatoon 2.
Speaking of good music.
Along with the release of Splatoon 2, we have the Nintendo Switch app. And a lot of people have been talking about it. We missed our chance last week because things are getting busy. Things are still busy. But it was released, and we have it. And Andy and I haven't actually been able to use I wouldn't say actually haven't been able to use it. We have chosen not to use a voice chat option on it. Mm-hmm. I use Discord when I play with my friends, or Skype. Reluctantly,
I use Discord as well.
Yeah.
Although we still haven't played yet.
No, I was thinking about it last night, but I was like, I have to go to bed because I have to be up early this morning.
I was playing with Michael, and he like kicked my ass the other day, so
yeah,
I need some practice.
I'm honestly surprised they haven't updated Mario Kart Deluxe for this yet, though.
Actually, good call.
But so I want to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Nintendo Switch app. First, right off the bat, it's very user friendly, especially when you get into the Splatnet2. You have, like, right when you open it up, you have... I really wish I could show this in a very good way, but, my camera's not going to pick it up well. You have your stats, the guns that you're using currently, the current stages that are up, stage info, your last battles show that I have 3 defeats and 1 victory.
Let's see how good this shows up.
And it shows you your lifetime inkage, and it shows you your shop. And that's one of the really cool things I like about this. Is that you can actually go into a shop on Splatnet2 where you can get specific items that you can't get that won't usually pop up in the game. You can order them and have them sent.
I just ordered these little goggles right here. I don't know if you guys can see, but my guy's just he's got this weird bucket hat on, and I want to be able to see his orange hair, but you can't with that bucket hat. So these goggles, which are only available on this app, but for an obscenely high price, is going to be my saving grace.
That's one of the things, before we get into it, I'll just keep talking about the good. And then you can talk about, then it shows you your battle stats. Right now I have 15 victories to 14 defeats. I've got an average of 4.7 kills per game. And 2.3.
Where does it show you kills per game?
It's going to be under your victory and defeat. Under your victory, it's your average. It's the little squid icon with the splat next to it.
I see.
And then you have the stage info on the front, like the very bottom left. It shows you this is probably one of the more handy features, along with the shop. It shows you where you are in the time frame for the maps. And then as you scroll down, you can see, so right now at 7, it's Humpback, Pump Track, and Starfish main stage. Then at 9 p.m., it's going to switch over to Muscle Forge Fitness and Inkblot Art Academy. And then at 11, it's Moray Towers, and so on and so forth. It shows you when they're going to switch over and what they're going to be, so you can expect, you know what to expect for the stages. Then it shows you for league battles and ranked battles. And like we said, we haven't really tried out the voice chat. I don't really have a reason to, because it's
there's just a lot of better alternatives already out there that are much simpler.
It just sounds more like a hassle to have to stay in-app the whole time, and I'm just, using Discord's fine with me. And it shows you your single-player stats, which, it's not really impressive to show, but, it's there.
My player stats are pretty awful, to be honest, guys. 9 victories, 13 defeats, average of 3 splats per game.
Yeah.
Pretty middle of the pack.
But it's all in all, it's nice. There's a lot of nice features. Pretty cool things.
It's very user friendly. Very easy to navigate. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Now for the bad. There's a few things that I am a little confused why they aren't included here. You can't actually tell when your friends are online through the app. So if I go to invitation list, I can't send or receive them. It says you haven't sent or received any invitations to join a room via online lounge. If you receive an invitation or open this app from the shared invitation page, the room will be displayed here. I don't understand that necessarily.
Basically, I haven't even tried this, so I haven't even clicked on this yet. So I'm just reading this for the first time.
Basically, what you have to do is in Switch in Splatoon 2, you either go to the lobby or this salmon run thing. You do the online lounge, and then you go to your phone, and then you create the room, and then you invite your friends using the different methods of invitation. Then they join the room. So
essentially, you have to use your Switch to see if your friends are online or not. This will just see, and this is the confusing part, because it looks like you get on your Switch, you create the online lounge, you create a room on your Switch, you invite, I don't know. It just seems to me like it'd just be so much easier to send out the invitation to your friends on the Switch, because you're already on the Switch and you can't tell who's on or who's off if you're not on the Switch.
And even on the Switch, it doesn't tell you if somebody's in-game playing multiplayer or single player, so you're not guaranteed that they're going to jump into the game. Another thing that I thought was weird is that it doesn't display your friend code anywhere. So I can't go in, if somebody asks for me for my friend code, I can't go look for my friend code in the Switch app. Which is odd to me. You can't
look at it on the Switch Online app, which is just another reason why it seems like it's this weird kind of thing that's just there when the Switch should be able to handle this all.
Yeah, and
this isn't a criticism of the online app either necessarily, but when I was trying to play a couple games with Michael from Zelda Informer the other day, and it took us a long time to finally match up together, because I couldn't join his battle, then he couldn't join my battle, and then vice versa until the chain finally went. And then instead of us getting together and playing versus a couple other players, it put us in a 1v1 situation right away, even though neither of us had clicked on it. So I mean, we played that for a while, which is fine, but it took a little bit to kind of get the ball rolling and to get us playing. So,
and I don't know if you can do this. From what I understand, I don't think you can actually join games as a group. But I may be wrong.
I don't think so. Very, very possible that someone out there can correct. But so we couldn't get in a lounge and then join someone else. We just joined a random game and we were paired. We ended up on different teams.
Yeah,
and I
that's what
lost
happened to me and
again.
my friends when we played. We couldn't actually, like, when I joined, it was just me joining their, chain of games, basically.
So basically, you either have enough people for a private battle, and then you can select the teams, or you don't have enough people for your own private battle, and you just join someone else.
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of irks me because, in things like, Call of Duty or Overwatch, you can have a bunch of people in a party and then you can go join different random games or even, ranked games in that party. And you don't have to worry about, losing your friends. If something happens, they can just join your group again. I just don't fully understand that. And again, the thing that bothers me is that on the online app, you still can't see your friend code. I don't understand why that is. Actually, no, I think I do understand why that is. I think that the friend codes are attached to the system, not to the account. I may be wrong, but
even that's no good of an excuse because
no, I'm aware. I'm not saying it's a good excuse. I'm just saying that may be why. I just don't understand because my friend, I was out with a friend and she was like, "Well, what's your friend code? Like, add me." And I was like, I don't know it off the top of my head. And so I checked the Switch app and it's not there. And it just seems weird that the app that's designed for the online play of the Switch doesn't have the information needed for you to play online. Another thing that I find is weird about Splatnet2, that name still sounds weird to me, is that you can't actually see how much money you have. So when I go into the shop, I don't know if when I order something, if I'm ordering something that I can afford or not. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I can almost forgive that one because it's optional if you want to buy it or not, and you can go ahead and see, you can order it and then get rid of it almost right away, but it definitely works better, like, pulling out your phone while you're already playing to order some gear,
Yeah, but I mean, like, if I'm out somewhere and
it is dumb. Like, you think if you're on the shop page, you'd have your currency somewhere.
Yeah.
But I guess
just
not.
Weird. It's not on there. It's, you can't see, like, so basically what happened was I was out somewhere and I just checked it out and I was like, oh, that looks nice. And I bought it. And luckily I had enough money to complete the order or whatever when I jumped into Splatoon 2. But it's just weird to me that I couldn't see how much money I have. Like, there's no way to see if I have money on here.
This is something that's simple enough that I could see getting fixed in an update, luckily.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean,
I don't know about the friend code. I'm less optimistic about that, but...
I mean, overall, it's not a bad app. It's just that there's things that don't make sense about it. And I guess, like, again, the ugly part of it is the voice chat and connecting the rooms. I just don't understand.
I think the ugly part is that you have to be on your phone, have this app open the whole time. So think of this and think of ugly. You have headphones plugged in from your phone to your ears, probably, right? You have a cord plugged into your phone to the wall charger so that your phone doesn't die. You have an adapter plugged in from your phone to the Switch so that it can connect and you can hear the game sound. I mean, there is cords everywhere. You're going to look like Dr. Octopus, pretty soon playing Splatoon 2, which I guess is fitting, but that's ugly.
I mean, it's just we've ranted about that before. I just, the only proper way, I guess, to play it with, on your phone would be if you use the standard headset with the earbuds, so you can have one ear in, one ear out. But then you lose, the audio fidelity of being able to hear your friends or to communicate crisply. Like, the way that I'm talking to you right now, I don't have the headset mic in my headset right now, but I'm talking through a microphone that I use now whenever I play gaming. Just this, I don't want to pick it up; it'll make a loud popping noise. A Samson mic. I'm not expecting that quality, but it'd be nice to be able to plug these headphones into my, Switch and be able to communicate like that, or even just get wireless headphones. I don't understand that whole setup. The reason why they're doing what they're doing, it seems counterintuitive to me, and it is. I'm not saying it's not counterintuitive.
One really unfortunate part about the Switch, the console, is that it doesn't have a headphone jack.
Yeah.
So that you can't plug headphones in, and that.
Well, it does.
It doesn't seem like a big deal, but
jack.
does it?
Yeah, in the top it has a headphone jack. It's in the top. It's
Oh,
like
I'm sorry. I stand corrected.
Yeah. I'm like, wait a second. It does have a headphone jack. But yeah, it has a headphone jack, but there's no input for a microphone. And I don't know if you could even use that. Again, obviously we know you can't use it to voice chat. And, that kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't. I just don't understand the reasoning behind, not doing a Bluetooth headset or, something like that. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to justify what they're doing with the voice chat.
I mean, it should only improve from here. I don't know. I guess I had really low expectations for this app, so I was kind of pleasantly surprised by the layout, what you could do, that there was actually things in the app that were advantageous to having it, that exclusive gear that you can't get in the game. I think that was kind of forward thinking to make people actually want to download this thing. So I think a lot of people rolled their eyes at it.
Mm-hmm. It's not bad. Yeah, I mean, it just has things about it that don't make sense.
Yeah, it's not great. It probably, hopefully, is going to be updated, and some of these odd things that are not there or that are there are going to get removed or updated. So it can only get better. Yep. It was better than I thought it would be when it launched. to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
So. Yeah.
So moving on then. Last topic. I was just thinking about topics, thinking about this the other day. I've been really wanting to go back and play Ocarina of Time.
You should.
But I don't want to play it on my 3DS. I want to play it on the big screen. I just don't have a way to do that right now. Because I don't want to have to rebuy it on the Wii U if it's going to come out on the Switch at some point. We'll see. But I've been thinking about Ocarina of Time. Specifically Ocarina of Time. And wondering retrospectively, why was it such a huge success? So I wanted to talk about that, and I know you said you could talk about that for days. So I'll let you take it and run with it. Because I'm still formulating thoughts about it.
There are a couple of reasons why this game is just the most timeless video game that was ever made. The first and probably foundation reason is that structurally this game is unmatched, unrivaled. The controls, the pacing, the dungeons, the whole game is just mapped out so brilliantly, and it controls so seamlessly and so flawlessly that it's just. I want to play it now that we're talking about it. You know what I mean? And other Zelda games have taken that and ran with it, but Ocarina of Time just it just perfected that whole maybe this is different for some people that played Ocarina of Time after some newer Zeldas, as we've talked about before. But when I play A Link to the Past, it's very ho hum for me. When I play Ocarina of Time, it's like this game just this is how a video game should play. It was built for the N64 controller. Every button had a use. Nothing ever felt counterintuitive to use. It felt so good and so right to do everything that it encouraged you not only just to explore, but just to keep at it, keep playing and replaying it, because it was just that the structure of it was just that tight. And then the way that game kind of progressed, the initial, I wouldn't even say first half, but almost the beginner dungeons, when you have that story, and then you could be playing that game if you're a younger kid and thinking that game's about to end the second that you get out of Jabba Jabba's belly and head towards Hyrule Castle. But you've got a whole other game waiting for you with 5 other temples that it was the way that game's flow of gameplay and of narrative came out. That it was so impressive for a game to me to see. So and a lot of it too is obviously tied to the fact that I played it growing up and I loved it growing up. It was my first Zelda, so yeah, I have a soft spot for it. But just like I mean, talking about iconic music in video games, like you could go track by track by track, and there's just bangers on there. There's thoughtful pieces. It's a collection of who's who of great music hits in video game history.
The game revolves around music too. Like everything about the game has to do with music. Like how you get to temples, how you open up temples. It's in the name. And I think that honestly, everything in that game works for its benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the music. Like, the Shadow Temple and the bottom of the well were the most difficult things for me to do as a kid. Not because it was like difficult, but because it scared me. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it freaked me out. Like, I think that was the first time in a game that scared me. It's just so.
I'm gonna throw this out there and tell me what you think. But I was actually a little bit more creeped out at the Spirit Temple because kind of like the big bassy drums and then like that big statue. I don't know. It just kind of.
It felt more eerie to me, kind of like the Water Temple did. But like the overall atmosphere of the Shadow Temple, and to a lesser extent the bottom of the well, like it was just perfect in how they executed it, and it was just terrifying to me as a kid. Like going back today, I'm like, oh no big deal. It's the Shadow Temple. It's the bottom of the well. Still pretty like unnerving.
Yeah.
But
so I still get this feeling when I play Ocarina of Time, and I'll try and describe it, but it's like I don't know if I'm going to be able to adequately. But when I was a kid playing Ocarina of Time for the first time, I had thought that I was going to beat the game when I took the 3 spiritual stones to the Temple of Time, and then the whole cutscene unfolded with Ganondorf swooping in and Link being sealed away for 7 years. And I realized I had this whole other adventure, so I went out and I did all the prerequisites necessary to get into the Forest Temple, and I remember stepping into the Forest Temple for the first time, and the music just like it hit me like. It was so atmospheric. It was so, I don't know. It was just so, it was such a moment. I felt like I was like watching someone else play this game rather than me playing it myself. And I was like, whoa, like this is amazing. Like I am playing an amazing game, and I'm going to remember this gaming moment forever. And I have. And it was so like, it was one of those moments where I was just like, this is incredible. Like this is like, people who say that video games are not art need to play this game, and they need to experience like this to really understand why what it is about video games that just hook people and make you a fan of them for life. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's a good explanation or not, but like that's when I think of Ocarina of Time, I think of that every time.
Well, I think like the way that certain things are executed in games can evoke certain feelings and certain memories. Like, for some reason, like, I don't know. I honestly wish I could tell you what was going on that made me remember this. But, like, there was a specific point in my life that something was happening, and I vividly remember Noki Bay from Super Mario Sunshine. Like, I can tell you the very first time I went there, what it was like, but I could not tell you why. I just remember, like, everything about that moment. And then even going back, to, like, Ocarina of Time, like, the very first time I ever played that game, like, walking into the Shadow Temple, I was like, my skin crawled. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, like, should I be playing this? I'm, like, 5. It was just terrifying to me. I can't do horror movies, just in case anyone's wondering. So like as a kid, that was just awful for me. But like I had nightmares because of the Shadow Temple, guys. Like it was bad. I was a pansy kid. But looking back on how everything worked in that game's favor, like not the time period that it was in, even though that helped. Like certainly the graphics for that game now would not pass. But like the music,
they still don't look bad though. The art style is very has aged well. It looks dated and it looks old, but it doesn't look ugly. Like Final Fantasy VII, if you play it, that looks ugly.
Oh yeah, no, that's Final Fantasy VII is really hard to want to play if you didn't play it the first time. And that's what I'm running into right now.
Yeah.
But like you look back at Ocarina of Time, and everything about it like fit in together, and that's kind of how a little bit, not all of the Zelda games, but how many of the Zelda games afterwards, played out. And I'd attribute that like you said, you're very musically inclined, so am I. Like when I think of specific areas in the game, I immediately can play that music in my head, like Outset Island and Wind Waker, like.
Yep.
That to me, the very, very first time I ever played Wind Waker, and I went up into the little forest on top of Outset Island, like that was a moment I was like, man, like there was nothing specific about it that was like, man, this is mind blowing. But I was like, the just small trumpet, just dun dun, and that was all just replayed. I was like, man, this is so atmospheric. Like it just. It fits perfectly with what's going on. And I think that's one of the things that Legend of Zelda's always had going for it, is how much the music fits in with whatever's going on.
I mean, that soundtrack is just... It might be the best ever for any game, that Ocarina of Time soundtrack.
Yeah. I mean, everybody knows Gerudo's Valley. Like, most recognizable off of their one of the most covered video game songs.
Yeah. But I mean, like, there's just so much. Like, if you start humming the Windmill song, I bet you that other people are going to start humming along with you, or they know that tune, or there's just so much. And funny enough, like, I want to say that's one of the only Zelda games not to have the main Zelda theme anywhere in the game, ironically enough. But I have the sun rising as my alarm to wake up in the morning on my phone. But even looking at Ocarina of Time from a technical standpoint, like, it's one of the most influential games ever. So L-targeting, locking onto an opponent, Ocarina of Time did that first. Now that's standard in video games. Pretty much every video game that there is that's an adventure game or a shooter game does that. Context-sensitive buttons, Ocarina of Time did that first. So and that became an industry standard overnight. You could go on. There's just so many things that game did that just became industry standards, or people looked at it and were just like, yes, this is the right way to do it. And the Ocarina of Time just did that, and it was just such an example of what a great game should be, that you just saw a lot of things that it did just become... You saw traces of Ocarina of Time in other games, and you still see them today.
Well, even then, like... I imagine that many people played that and were inspired to make video games because of it. I think there's been some interviews with some developers that have actually talked about that. But, like, I just imagine some people, like, playing Ocarina of Time and, like, this is great, and I want to improve upon it, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I loved the way that this happened, and I want to do more with it.
Yeah, I mean, even Nintendo itself has done that with the Ocarina of Time formula, because you can see that formula or maybe gameplay structure in pretty much every Zelda game, the 3D Zelda game, post Ocarina of Time, save for maybe Breath of the Wild, which still incorporates, the best of what Ocarina of Time did.
Mm-hmm. For the most part.
For the most part.
Yeah. But, like, it's really hard to explain, though, to someone who's never played it before. Because it's like you're explaining things that they've already played before, basically. So Ocarina of Time revolutionized how a lot of 3D third-person adventure games play. I honestly don't think we'd have a lot of the games we have today if Ocarina of Time wasn't...
absolutely not. For adventure games, there's pretty much pre-Ocarina of Time, post-Ocarina of Time. Mm-hmm. Like you could almost put that down as the tipping point for those games. So the benchmark was set, the skeleton was laid out, so to speak. So all these games can build on it.
Like, I don't think we'd have games like Dark Souls or even Darksiders without Zelda. And I know that's a really bold statement to make, but I stand behind it. That Ocarina of Time really revolutionized the way that games, or that genre of gaming was made from then on. And without
Absolutely.
it, I don't think we'd be nearly in the area that we are now.
Imagine if it was kind of a link to the past almost, but in quasi 3D. So it's still top down, but you could. Like, I can't even picture it. You know, and it's funny to think of where the Zelda franchise would be. You know, had Ocarina of Time not come out and did what it did. So yeah, I just. That game, it's so important to Nintendo, to video games as a whole, obviously to the Zelda series. You know, what can you say about Ocarina of Time that hasn't been said before? Like, I want to go replay it. I actually got my girlfriend to play it last year for the first time, which was really fun. So watching her kind of go through that for the first time was not nearly, maybe not as rewarding as playing it for myself the first time, but like it was cool to see someone else kind of experience, like, you know, all those like whoa moments for themselves.
Yeah. And it's, you know, just overall, like I keep going back to music just because of how memorable the music in Ocarina of Time was. Like there's a noticeable shift in I guess like you said, the first part of the game and the second part of the game, where it's not necessarily upbeat, but it's not as dark as the post Master Sword 7-year shift, and that really lends itself to the theme of, you know, the second half of the game, and it's just small stuff like that that really makes the game as good as it is. And it's, you know, I hate praising it over and over again because everybody does it all the time, but you know, it's good to look back at gaming and see where we came from, so we can appreciate where we are. Like,
touching on that subject just really quickly, I was talking with someone in the comments the other day on Zelda Informer about Ocarina of Time versus Breath of the Wild in the sense of how Ocarina of Time, I think, was more successful portraying kind of like a post-apocalyptic, or apocalyptic, if you will, setting, like after Ganondorf took over, than Breath of the Wild was. Because you go to Breath of the Wild, like all the, you know, aside from Castle Town, all the townspeople are kind of happy everywhere. There's no real evidence of a whole lot of ruins, whereas, like, I mean, Ocarina of Time, you see Zora's Domain is frozen, you see the huge rings of smoke around Death Mountain, Lake Hylia is gone, so it's the little things that Ocarina of Time does, you know, it did it so well.
Yeah. So I think that's all we've got for this week, then. Thanks for joining us. And we will see you.
Let us know your favorite Ocarina of Time memories.
Yeah. Or
I'm curious to see if like anyone else has like a moment like mine, kind of like like that Forest Temple moment where they were just like, holy crap, this is like unreal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
See you guys next week.
I think Majora's Mask is next.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys. Thank you for tuning in as always.